Among the many black marks against Todd Blanche becoming the Attorney General of the United States on full display during the Senate confirmation hearing, there is no darker mark, there is no blacker mark than the one related to his cover-up of the Epstein child sex trafficking ring, his boss Donald Trump's connection to those traffickers, and his refusal to provide dignity and justice for the survivors. 10 survivors showed up today during the hearing, and he faced not one of them. In fact, when he was put on the spot by Dick Durbin, the ranking member for the Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee, he said, just turn, just look at them, just meet with them. He refused, he dissembled, he stuttered, he muttered, he murmured. He did everything but commit as a human being to meet with those who were terribly sexually abused in a sex trafficking ring that has connectivity to Donald Trump. He refused. My assistant will do it. I don't think I need to be there. Oh, they may have lawyers. People in the Department of Justice have met with clients and lawyers for as long as the Department of Justice has been going on. And the survivors, once again, who have stepped forward, the 25 or so out of the 1,400 victimized who show up at the House, at the Senate, on the Capitol steps, and others, like one of the people that I've interviewed recently, Danny Bensky, they've had enough. They've had enough. And here is the dirty little secret that the Department of Justice continues to hide. It's not the 3 million documents that they have produced, but not quite. It's not the 3 million or more documents they haven't produced. It isn't the documents that are reposited within the executive branch or the Department of Justice. It is information that these victims and survivors have never been able to disclose because they've never been properly debriefed or interviewed. Think about that for a minute. There are 1,400 identified victims of this child sex trafficking ring, and they have not met with the FBI except for 2 or 3. They have not been asked about their information. They have not provided their evidence. They have not been properly debriefed, interviewed, or handled with the dignity that justice demands. It is their story, their narrative, their evidence that would help put away the 600, 700, whatever the number is, of predators. And Todd Blanche stands in that Senate chamber, and he has the temerity, he has the balls, the chutzpah, to look members in the eye and say he's done all he can do to be transparent about the Epstein files. Bullshit. And I know it because that's what the Epstein survivors have said, but much more graciously than I just did. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch Network. Let's start with the 10 that came to the Senate today. And Dick Durbin referencing them, not as a prop, but as a counterweight to the terrible way that the Trump administration, Department of Justice, have abandoned their survivors. Watch this exchange between Durbin and Todd Blanche.
Is it not true that Congress had to pass a law requiring the Trump administration to disclose the Epstein files? The Epstein Files Transparency Act passed by bipartisan roll calls in the House and Senate to finally get the files made public?
President Trump signed that law.
Yeah,
Yes.
of course he did. After overwhelming numbers of the House members and Senate members voted for it on a bipartisan basis because the administration would not voluntarily produce these documents. Now, I've mentioned
That's not true.
Well, what part of it isn't true?
We were prohibited by law from producing those documents. This is the Judiciary Committee. There are laws that did not allow us to produce those documents, which we made plain in numerous court filings. So and President Trump had said from day one to release the files, even when he was running.
Yeah.
And so, yes, he signed it into law and we complied with it.
I remember, and everyone in the audience remembers, the lengths that the administration went through to delay production of these documents to the point where Congress did an extraordinary thing, discharge motion in the House to bring this matter before them and vote on a bipartisan basis to compel your administration to disclose those documents. Let me talk to you for a moment about the survivors who are in the room. There are 10 individuals who were exploited and abused by Mr. Epstein. They are here today. None of them have had a chance to speak to anyone in the department or FBI, though they've asked repeatedly. So can I get your word under oath that within the next 30 days, you will personally sit down with these 10 victims and hear their case in terms of what needs to be done by the Department of Justice?
Chairman, I appreciate them being here today. I also have somebody from my office who's spent her entire career working on cases like Mr. Epstein's. She's in charge of our task force investigating human trafficking. She's available to talk to them.
She can sit right next to you. She can sit right next to you when you meet with these survivors.
I have never said I will not meet with survivors.
Will you meet with these 10 survivors? I'm asking you on the record.
If they have lawyers, as you know, I'm prohibited from meeting directly with them. I have met with counsel for survivors, as has many people in the Department of Justice, over 30. But if they are represented by counsel, we will work with their counsel. If they don't have a lawyer, I will certainly make arrangements to make sure the right people at the Department of Justice meet with them. Absolutely.
Will you get it done within the next 30 days that each of these survivors?
I will get it done today, if that's necessary. I mean, my point is there's somebody here who can meet with them today, get their information, and arrange to meet with them.
I think you ought to be in the room.
Pardon me?
I think you ought to be in the room because you ought to hear this.
Now, I had recently on the show, on the Intersection podcast that I do, I had Danny Bensky, one of the 25 survivors that have voluntarily come forward. And I asked her point blank, I said, there's going to be a confirmation hearing coming up the next month or so. Do you think the Department of Justice will ever provide you justice? And she said, let's play the clip.
And so when you have somebody like Todd Blanche at the helm of the DOJ, it's hugely problematic, right? Like, he has the president's best interest. He does not have the American people's best interest at heart. And he's proven that. He was in that Situation Room. He needs to be called in and questioned. He needs to be in front of the Oversight Committee now to answer, how, like, we also know that he was responsible for so many botched redactions and how this rollout even happened. And botched is like an understatement, by the way. But he's responsible for a lot of this. I mean, Bondi, I'm not letting her off the hook. She definitely had something to do with this too. But we know that Todd Blanche had a lot to do with this, and he moved Ghislaine Maxwell. So, like, there's so many things here that come back to Blanche. And now he is the nomination. And that's like, he's so unfit to be the acting attorney general of our country. I can't even, my words fail me. So
yeah. Now let me go back to my premise of my video. If you're interested in doing a proper investigation, which the FBI and the Department of Justice under Todd Blanche are not, you would have met with these victims a long time ago. You would have taken down what's called 302 reports in FBI parlance. You would have followed those 302s. You would have done follow-ups to those 302s. If you would have asked them for any evidence, they may have photographs or videotapes or the rest. Instead, because the victims have not been properly debriefed or have been interviewed by anybody in the FBI or the Department of Justice, except for about 2 of them. Because of that, it's allowed people like Leslie Groff, the 19-year executive assistant to Jeffrey Epstein, to try to get away behind closed doors with saying, I didn't know. It was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I worked for Dr. Jekyll. I didn't know about Mr. Hyde. Bullshit. And now the way I know it is because these 25 or so victims, survivors, have had to come forward in various interviews and call them out. As soon as Leslie Groff testified, we had the survivors come out and said, we had direct contact with her. She knew we were underage and she paid us directly for massages. She knew all about it. Why haven't those people been interviewed? Play the clip.
If a girl wanted to meet Jeffrey Epstein, you had to go through Leslie Groff.
Just literally tell the truth, no matter who you are.
Multiple Jeffrey Epstein survivors say that his longtime assistant, Leslie Groff, lied in her interview with the House Oversight Committee last month. 2 of the 6 victims we interviewed spoke on camera, and they tell me that Groff, who was Epstein's assistant for 18 years, lied when she said that she never knew their ages or met them in person.
Of course, she knew how old we were because she had to look at our IDs to book our flight.
I met Jeffrey Epstein in 2002. I was still 13, almost turning 14 at the time. How old is she? Where is she from? What does she look like? Where does she live? Is she going to school? These were top 5 questions by Leslie Groff.
She also said, Quote, to my knowledge, I never met any of these masseuses. What do you guys think about that?
She's lying. Just me and my friends, she's met at least 3 or 4 of us. I myself included. I have met her in the office plenty of times.
I met Leslie multiple times in different locations.
She said, I never directly paid anyone. I never handed any money to anyone.
I definitely was paid by Leslie because I asked for money all the time. Fresh $100 bills, looks like it just came out the bank, and it was always in a white envelope.
Groff has never been charged with a crime, and she denies that she ever knew anything about Epstein's abuse of girls and women. She told lawmakers that Epstein was a master manipulator and deceiver, and that he kept his abuse a secret from her. Groff's testimony has only fueled the frustration of Epstein survivors. Many of them think that Congress's interviews with Epstein associates will not lead to more accountability.
We have so many people coming in and lying and saying they don't know, they don't remember. Can we just have one person at least come in and take accountability and bring in full transparency?
A spokeswoman for the House Oversight Committee told CNN, we are currently reviewing Ms. Groff's transcript against the available evidence. We welcome any additional evidence from individuals who possess information. A lawyer for Groff did not respond to CNN's request for comment.
One of our own podcast partners and colleagues, Aaron Barnes, recently interviewed another Epstein survivor. She said there's videotapes of what transpired in that house of horrors that is the Epstein townhouse in Upper East Side, New York, the one, with the adjoining wall with Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary. Here's her clip.
Now, I see the shirt you're wearing. It has redactions on it.
Yes.
Do you feel as though the Justice Department has released all of the files as it relates to you in your case?
No. So as I was mentioning before, that everything was recorded in the house, in the townhome in New York City. We know that there are videos. Those videos I have not seen the videos, and they haven't been released. Obviously, redacted, but those videos are out there of the abuse, and those are crimes that are being committed, and that's evidence. So yeah, there's about 3 million files that have not been released, and we want all of those files released.
And then you have Melania Trump. Got to mention her. Melania Trump, who a couple of months ago in an angry news conference, I don't know who she's angry at, angry news conference, said that the victims and survivors should be heard from. I was like, okay, send the Department of Justice and FBI to their houses to meet with them individually. Oh, no. Congressional testimony. Oh, sure. Let's victimize the victims all over again, shall we? This is not their problem. They were already the victims. What rape victim needs to give congressional testimony in order to obtain justice? None. So the question that Todd Blanche needs to answer, and of course failed to, is will you immediately not only meet with the 10 survivors or all the survivors, will you arrange a process to debrief them and interview them properly with dignity, take their stories and their evidence seriously and follow it to wherever it leads? Will you or won't you do that? See, that's the only time I wish I was a United States Senator, when I can play U.S. Senator about how I would be on the Judiciary Committee. We're going to continue to follow it because justice demands it on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch Network. On Legal AF midweek, which is on Wednesday, we have Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, Democrat, New Jersey, on the Judiciary Committee with his fiery exchange on behalf of America with Todd Blanche to show that he's completely unfit. He'll be joining us on the show as well. Further programming notes, Michael Luttig, Judge Michael Luttig, will be joining us tomorrow on Legal AF YouTube channel to talk about his resounding success leading to Judge Williams in Miami's 56-page order calling out Todd Blanche for being corrupt, in bad faith, and committing a fraud on the court, all before the confirmation hearing. And I want Judge Luttig to do a victory lap with us, and I know he will, along with his organization. He represents, for instance, an organization called the Rule of Law Society. And this is what the Rule of Law Society said in their statement that was just issued in the last hour or so. The Society for the Rule of Law welcomes the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida's decision in Trump versus IRS, which has imposed non-monetary disciplinary action against the parties involved in the settlement that created the Anti-Weaponization Fund. The disciplinary response includes Rule 11 sanctions against the plaintiff's counsel. The court found that the contrived settlement had no viable basis in law or fact, and this case is a part of Mr. Trump's pattern of misusing the court to serve political purposes. The Society for the Rule of Law Institute categorically condemns the creation of the Anti-Weaponization Fund and applauded then Treasury Department General Counsel Brian Morrissey's decision to resign in response to this blatant perversion of justice. In contrast, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche actively assisted with the formation of this illicit arrangement, and the court has referred its order to the ongoing New York State Bar ethics complaint against Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. More with J. Michael Ludig when he joins Legal AF tomorrow. In the meantime, hit the free subscribe button here and on Legal AF YouTube channel. Until my next report, this is Michael. Popok here. When life changes in an instant because of an injury or the bad acts of another, you need fighters in your corner. The Popok firm is dedicated to helping the injured and their families get justice and the money they deserve, and we don't back down. Contact us today and let's start your fight for justice together.